Sanbonani, my viewers, we are back again with another exciting episode. The Expensive Pain, powered by Born Beautiful. As nizibonela semkhishweni igama lami nguSiphiwe Daycare. Namhlanje we have, as you know, all our shows are exciting. I'm not about to say that, but umamas la exciting ninazibonela siphethe intokazi izokhulumela young girls out there. Asibonge, I'll just allow her to take the moment as introduces, you know, like I see, allow my guests as introduce to ubani uqhamuka kuphi, and then we're gonna unpack a story so I can have a convo with her. Unjani mamas?
Ngiyaphila njani Siphiwe?
Yes, bongo. Welcome to Born Beautiful, Expensive Pain. You can tell the viewers ukuthi ubani uqhamuka kuphi, and then sizo dive into it.
Okay, perfect. Before I do that, let me thank you guys for featuring me in your show. I am grateful and extremely honored.
Yes, bonge.
Igama lami uNomsa Mophuting. Maiden surname Khatebe. I was born ko Baragwanath Hospital and then ka dula ko Tladi. After that, we moved to Pimville, we moved to the burbs,
Yes. Zalimala from Mkhishweni to the burbs.
Yeah.
I see bambi lapho.
And the rest is history.
But thank you for also accepting the invite to our show. We are fairly new, but here we are growing slowly, but surely we're gonna make it.
Yep.
So thank you to take your time, come to us. So let's get to it. I'm our viewers to know you a bit, because as Sikuluma, Mina, I know a bit of your background, you know, to what do you do. So Unomsa, let's first start with your upbringing, because you were raised from Soweto to the burbs. I understand that. Take us through that. Like, how was your upbringing like Soweto before you experienced the burbs?
Okay, so when I was staying in Tladi, I was still very young, and my parents decided to buy a house at Pimville, and it was Pimville Zone 5, got a new house. They used to call them the Pick and Pay.
Why?
So when you lived there, you felt very special. It was called the Pick and Pay because my dad was a manager at Pick and Pay.
Oh, shout out to Daddy.
So it was just a few houses, and I went to Mdelwa Primary School, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And then after that, I progressed to Bantu Higher Primary.
Yeah.
That is when my parents decided, okay, we're moving from here, we're going to the burbs. And that was in grade standard 3. I don't know, they call it grade 5 now.
Standards,
yeah. So I did the standards. So when we went to Gomea, I was going to standard 3, and then they said to me, your English sucks. So actually,
how did that make you feel, like being told that as a child, or what your English sucks? Because you know that shift to go to usuke esikolweni esithize could be usuke emkhishweni elokishini, and then suddenly we are go school which is a multiracial school, and when you get there ngesilungu sakho, you know kids are mean. They will tell you exactly ukuthi wagwan. So how did you receive that, like being told that with your English sucks?
Actually, I wouldn't really say it's a phrase that I use for myself to say your English sucks. But in essence, it was just a conversation between the school and my parents to say, we understand your child was doing well at Soweto, but she's not gonna manage here. She can hardly speak a word of English. So for me, I couldn't understand it, because they sat down with me and they tried to explain it. It's not that you're not good enough, but it's that you're transitioning from one school to the next. I'm like, but I was a shining star where I come from. I'm in a Bantu, Nasemdelwa. I used to be selected, go top 10, give a top 2, you know, and I would even be taken to Abo Germany school for weekends, I'm a Saturday school. So I'm getting to the school and they're like, okay, we're taking you backwards. Like, what's happening? But you know, more than anything, I think growing up from being a young girl, I've just had this attitude of positivity, if I can put it like that, because I always used to get awards as well, where teachers would say that I've got a positive attitude. So whatever comes to me.
you.
Like if no matter how negative it is, I convert it into positive energy. So I told myself, okay, fine. Yes, I do not know how to speak English, but I will know how to speak English. So I did grade 5. I repeated it. And then at the end of the year, I was so good. I was like, and then I could move on.
Not to dwell on the old stuff, but fast forwarding to your age now, looking back, would you say Soweto, the education system, regardless, it might have came off from the other school, would you say vele education yase Kasi, it's different from the other schools?
From other schools.
Like outside Ekasi.
Outside Ekasi. So I'm not sure what's happening in the schools now, but in terms of how I got set up in the next school, in terms of me not knowing how to communicate with other kids, I would say back then, I think the education system was different, because if it was the same, I would have transitioned perfectly. And I would have gone into the next grade, because I was meant to go to grade 6. And then I couldn't go because of the fact that, yes, you were studying and you were doing well, but you were excelling in your mother tongue. Mother tongue, in most cases, you won't find it in businesses. In businesses, we speak English. So in some way or another, I feel like back then we were set up not for I wouldn't say failure, but I'm going to use it, because imagine if I progressed in Soweto, right? I don't know what would have happened, but I feel like I wouldn't be where I am today. I feel like there's a huge gap. There was a huge gap. I don't know what's happening now.
All right. So fast forwarding with that story of Eskolweni transitioning to other things, when did you discover what you do? Because our viewers probably they're still wondering, okay, so like let's dive into that. How did you discover yourself? Like with what age maybe did you start to say, okay, now Nomsa, this is what I'm passionate about? Or it came maybe at a later stage maybe?
No, it came at a very early stage. My upbringing got like, so when we moved from Pimville to Meadale, I had to still complete my year Mdelwa, because it was mid-year before we could move to Meadale. So then I stayed at Tladi with my grandparents. I was 12. Right. And at that age, I was bringing kids in from our street, from different streets, and I would do modeling for them. You know, I'm a contest, choirs. I would literally sit them down and teach them. I always wanted to be a teacher. So I would sit down and teach them. Like, I always wanted to see people progress and succeed from a very young age. I didn't want to see people being idle, doing nothing on the streets and just twiddling with their thumbs. I knew everybody had potential. I knew that we are all walking around with greatness within us. So from a child,
which is born beautiful. We are all born beautiful.
Yes.
Because they would ask, what? Okay, born beautiful. I told you, born beautiful. It's the same thing that you are explaining. We are all born with a certain gift, which we refer to as your beauty. I understand. So hence born beautiful. So with loving teaching like that, did you get it from your parents? How were your parents?
My mom, guys. You won't believe it, but today she's my best friend. And my mom was very strict. I had a very quiet father. Their stuff would happen in private, but my mom was quite vocal, and she did it out of a place of love, right? And I don't put it like, I would say most of the teachings that I have in my life are coming from her. I am the woman that I am today because of her. My mom, even when the situation is so bleak, she will make it look bright. She will say,
sorry to cut you, how do you establish that? Not everybody gets along with their parents. There's girls who would wish to be in the same position as you, would like, wow, I want to have my mom as a best friend. And with me, not to say I'm judging, but with having to experience people around me, most females, they don't get along. So when I'm being born in the same situation as a Soweto, how did you nurture that relationship? You don't break it apart, you actually build from it. As you say, today she's your best friend.
Today, yes, she is my best friend. So I was gonna go backwards
Yeah.
So I was talking about that now. Now we are best friends.
Yeah.
And my mom, with her personality, has made me the woman that I've been. And I think in most families, and I will say, I always say it like this, in most Black families, we don't have that relationship, growing up. I've got a relationship with my mom now because now I'm older. I'm a woman, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and I get it now, you know. But when I was growing up, there was that level of respect that she's my mom and I'm her daughter. I'm a child, she's an adult. There was that gap in between. So I wouldn't come home and say, hi mom, today I found a new boyfriend. So that's not a conversation I would have with my mom. So when you're saying, did I find my passion, where did I get it from? It was just a God-given passion. I would say it's a passion coming from above. So growing up, you don't know, okay, where am I going to land up in terms of spirituality? But I think God chose me a long time ago, and he chose me for that a long time ago. But if I were to say that it was my parents that chose this path for me, no, it wasn't. And if I were to be asked, did you have this relationship with your mom growing up? No, I didn't. It was a
back and forth.
There has to be a boundary. We've got boundaries with our parents, more especially in our families.
And what I would like to note about your story, your parents didn't like choose for you. That's one thing I say I respect also about them, because as Black people, not only Black people but parents, if you have a certain gift or a calling, if they don't believe in it, they will always try to direct your thinking or your ways of seeing the things in the world with, no, this is how you should, not this one doesn't work. To see izinto vele zishintshile, lezi zinto babathi azisebenzi ziyasebenza right now. Understand? So I just want to give them a shout out, abazali bakho ukuthi thank you for not keeping this lady from chasing her dreams, because you coming from that and having the passion of fundisa like from that age. So let's go back to that story, you learning to teach kids and also modeling. With your first modeling competition, how was it?
Sure, guys, you really want to know. I will tell you, and probably when the kids, which now they are adults, they are young men and women. If they were to listen to this podcast, guys, I'm dead. So I'm dead. So my first competition happened. I know there was a transport guy that was taking us from Kotladi to Meadell, like while we were waiting to go to Meadell, and his wife had a crash. So the crash was like a long garage, right? So from an early age, I would sit down and think, okay, where am I going to have this competition? It has to be in a formal setting, and you need funds. These kids...
I was about to ask, where did you get funding at that time?
Yeah, you need funds. Those kids need their hair done. The guys give us the pomade, So, so what I did at that age, I took paper, A4, broke it down into columns, wrote Uguti heading, name, amount. So we're getting donations. So each and every one of them, I would give them donations, and we would go Hunali station, Sadi train. It gets busy at peak hours when people are coming back from work. So we would all flock there.
They tend to be packed.
Very packed.
So what about safety there? You didn't worry about?
Bona, I'm 12. My dream is this. The dream has to come to pass. So Uguyanase station, it wasn't a distance from my house. And I think growing up, it was, we grew up in an environment where we almost knew each other. You know, Mtanaga Dodo, Mtanaga Banban. So when we are all flocking, go station, we are walking on the safer side. We can't be walking Maharashtra. At that point, I was, I think I was mature for my age.
Obviously, with having such drive, it clearly means you had an old soul from long time ago.
But imagine.
So it wasn't you anymore. Carry on.
So we would go there, raise the donations, and then whatever we would get, I would go buy what they need, your hair relaxers, your sprays, just make them look beautiful. Abanganama shorts, let's get you a pair of shorts, into his fananalezo. And then I spoke to Abutironi, his name was Abutironi, and said, can you please speak to your your wife. I need her garage, you know. And also, you're not just doing that. You also want to motivate the kids. So part of the money, I would buy prizes, the crown, and all of those things. Wow. So that's how I did 12. My fundraising at 12. Yeah. And my family would call me the Nama, and Jomalumam is like, you know, I'm not surprised why you went for Mrs. South Africa. You used to be the community builder. You know? Wow. So yeah.
So from that age, wow. Like, I'm still thinking what's meaning that 12 penguins.
I was
probably been stuck in your homework, but anyway.
I was doing that.
Imagine it at 12. So with that, because now how you were doing your stuff, it shows that you had a bit of your understanding your business, of how a business your modeling works. Did you do your research on it came natural? Okay, labantwana ngifuna ukubaplaka la egarage nani, I need ama-crown, I need this, I need, and you having to also work a budget which you would need donations and this money at age of 12, mamas.
I don't know where it came from. It was just there, and I remember it like it was yesterday.
Nobody in the family gave you that game and said you would pay. This is wow.
We didn't sit down and say. In fact, my grandfather would say, you know, I just want to see where it all ends. But it was something that I would just sit and say, okay, I will need this. I think some of the things I was getting from TV, watching TV and seeing it happen, and then you know, those were the basics. But I knew that for those basics I needed money. So
okay, then from age of 12, growing up, high school, college, tertiary, did you go to maybe furthering your education as you were continuing growing? And did you take your education in a sense of good, were you focusing on modeling, or there are things that you do on the side beside the gift you had since from the young age?
Okay, so my high school years, guys, are very interesting. So when I got into high school, I think the tables turned, right? And when I say the tables turned, I was just this child, right?
Oh, okay. Yes, Apple Mama.
Yeah, no, then it was just a house on fire. So I did stuff. I did what teenagers
don't mention
did.
them.
I won't mention.
But
to be quite honest, I didn't do much when I was in high school. I just did what I needed to do. You know, I knew I needed to pass matric. I knew I couldn't fail matric because I would disappoint my parents. But I wasn't really so involved in community so much when I was in high school. And then when I completed high school, my dad found me a job at Pick n Pay as a cashier. So I didn't go to tertiary after school immediately. I had to take myself to school, Pick n Pay. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to go and study HR. That was in 2005 or 6, somewhere there. I decided I'm doing HR, and then along the way, 2006, I got promoted from Pick n Pay to manager. I am leaving this thing, guys, you know. And then, on 2006, I was like, nah, let me just live life rather. You know, I'll see everything else afterwards. And I was 20. I mean, you're 20, you're a manager. You've got abantu abadala who have been there forever. And when I saw so I decided, okay, live life. But then unfortunately, same year, just after getting promoted, I was involved in a car accident. A life was lost in the car accident, and broke my leg, like I mentioned earlier while you were having an informal conversation. So then 2006, that was that. 2007, then I started going back to work again in crutches. Still working. School.
How did you find yourself after that trauma, you know?
It doesn't disappear immediately. So what I can say is
help, maybe.
I was going to a psychologist. So Ubabam was one of those ngimnyama mara, I've got whiteness within, you know. So he would arrange such things for me. Counseling sessions. I attended them, and at that point, the guy that died in the car was my boyfriend at that time, and he was planning to. Well, the trip was to go to his home in Eastern Cape. They had this thing, I must come and get fittings because I must be wearing a certain outfit. Unfortunately, we didn't get there. He passed on.
May he rest. But this is for a reason, and with you being a woman, being so much through stuff, like, and you still keeping up, like, what burns that fire, what fuels that fire? Because I see a lot of girls are struggling, honestly, like with how things or how the system is set up. Like, they are very struggling to keep that fire burning. Some they might start, but obviously, the societal conditioning, people tend to throw the off from is coming up from amantombazana. So now, what fuels that? Is it your parents, or is a yoga class that you attend, or I don't know? Tell us your magic, maybe, if you don't mind.
Okay, my magic, guys, is God. I was saved at the age of 25. So after all of this happened, I think 2007, like I was still telling my story, I lived my life. 2008, I was pregnant, and then my son came, my firstborn son. 2009, life went on. 2010, World Cup. My life shut down, and that was it. I was depressed. I was admitted in hospital for 2 weeks, and when the doctor came to see me every night, he kept on saying, I can give you as much medication as I can, but that is not where your problem lies. You need to fix your relationship with God. And I felt like, okay, are all psychiatrists like this? Why is this one saying all of this? But then, fortunate enough, I had my Bible in the hospital, and I was even scared to go outside. I was suicidal. When I'm left alone, I would start thinking, what am I going to do to myself next? And okay, then I got discharged. Then my aunt, who's my uncle's wife presently, said to me, Nomsa, I think I know where you belong. And she took me to a church. From there, my life started afresh till today. I found myself, if I can say that, at 25. Guys, don't ask how old I am. But I found myself at 25. And since then, I've never looked back. That was in 2010, and we are in 2023. That's why I'm still standing.
Because, that dark hole of depression, like, a lot of people, they tend to drown forever. Like, I'm very motivated to also speak, like, use these type of mics to push positivity because of such things that people go through in life. With, like, you might have it easy, but some people don't. Understand such things do happen in people's life. It's like when I heard your story, like your story, it touched me because I have personal experience to it. In a sense of good team, my partner umamomtanam experienced the same thing as you, that I heard when I was like, I need to have you on the show so that we speak about this, touching on the depression I face, because the mother of my child, she experienced the same thing, and me as a partner, because people tend to think such things only affect you as a woman alone, like the victim alone, but there's your partners, your family members who get to actually experience the same pain. It could not be exactly, but I know that pain. So let's touch on that, with you having to be this strong, the car accidents, building up onto what you experience. So let's touch on that story. The rape. Where
you can say it.
You were violated.
Yeah.
So at what age did you encounter the first experience?
Okay. So the first experience, as my parents confirmed, was at the age of 4. And that's something that I only got to find out after I was 30. So
Wow.
I'm going to talk a bit about this experience because as much as I didn't know about it growing up, there were flashbacks in my mind. At such a point in my life, something happened to me, but I cannot put a finger on it. And I was actually telling my brother the story. We were having coffee on Monday, and I said to him, "Well, you know what? When I was little, I remember standing in the middle of the street, get a 10 Rand note, and all puzzled up. I don't know what had happened to me. But that day specifically, I had a 10 Rand note, and when Mama and Papa found me, I was standing there, and I gave them that 10 Rand note. So when they are explaining the story today, they are saying, I disappeared. They looked for me. They couldn't find me. And when they eventually found me, I had that 10 Rand note. And when they saw me in the state that I was in, they decided to take me to a doctor to check out what's going on with me. And unfortunately, when they got there, the doctor told them the news that, look, your daughter was raped. So the best thing that they could do back then was keep it away from me.
Do you think, sorry to cut you, it's right for parents to keep such news maybe until a certain age, or should they tell you maybe Mosonaboma 10, let's say it happened before 10, or is there an age for them to tell you?
Okay, so I'm going to go back to, you asked me one question earlier, and you asked me if there was a gap between Soweto education and multiracial education. So it's the same as that. Our parents grew up in communities whereby most things were not like in front of their faces. They were not exposed to them. So our parents made decision based on, I think this is the best decision for my daughter. Whereas if it was a white parent, they would have probably taken me for counseling from an early age and prepared me to my teens. And by the time I got to my teens, I would have understood that, you know what, Nomsa, you are different from other girls. This has happened to you. But in our communities, let's face it, rape is shame. When you talk about it, people hide their faces. We don't want to talk about it. It's a topic that we would rather bury. That is something that has happened from the past. You know, they don't want people labeling their daughter saying, oh wow, she was raped when she was 4, as if I had asked for it. I was 4 for crying out loud. What did a man, an old man, see in a 4-year-old? So as a parent, you are thinking, let me just keep this from my child. And I still say it even now to say, I don't blame my parents for what they did, for keeping it to themselves. Because even when they talk about it, my mom can't talk about it.
My dad, any parent really it will be difficult.
It's difficult. My dad tries. And he tries because I would say he looks at me and says, I cannot believe the woman that you have become. To think that when you were raped at 4, I didn't think that you would be a mother one day, somebody's wife one day. And it shows that those actions were not they were not meant to hurt me. Them keeping the information from me was meant to protect me, but it didn't protect me. It did more harm than good, because growing up, I kept on asking myself questions. Why am I not the same as other girls? They are saying this happens when you do this. When you're a girl, you know, when we're teenagers, when we're talking about virginity, when you break your virginity, show me, this is what happens, that is what happens. And then when I did it, it was as if I've had sex. Sorry, guys. It's as if I've had sex before. And for me, it was puzzling. I thought, okay, I'm different. Why am I different? What happened to me? And okay, I grew up with those questions up until someday my mom was giving testimony in church, and she mentioned it. I'm thankful to God that my daughter is alive. She's got kids. She is married. You know, she is loved by someone. Actually, I wasn't married then. I think she was just so grateful that I'm okay. And one day I'm standing there, I'm thinking, okay, the only daughter she has is me. So meaning that I'm the one that went through that. Do you know what happened afterwards?
No.
I couldn't ask my mom, who were you talking about? Knowing very well that she was talking about me. And that is the background that you are growing in as Black people in most Black families. We are ashamed of speaking to our parents about such things, because we are thinking, how am I going to ask her, Mama, what were you talking about? Who were you? You can't, because there was that type of relationship is not there.
Hence, I was like, how do you maintain that relationship as a woman to woman, from like daughter to mother, where you can talk about this, as you said, but it pan out ngendlela yayo. So we need such relationships from abazali and daughters to talk, because it might not be utu maybe umntwana safe ukukhuluma nobabakhe, but if there's a mother there who they can talk to. Now as a mother, if there's secrets in the family, I believe you'll be able to deliver those type of things, even if they are hard. But if it's based on the foundation relationship then ukumpreacher saka nabo matethi, then you want to talk about emotions.
We didn't talk about it. We were still friends, but we didn't talk about it. And I think, I'm not sure about mothers and girls at this day and age, because now kids are exposed to a lot of information. Very. And parents as well. There's internet, there's this. I mean, as parents at this day and age, we attend webinars, we attend sessions where they help you with engaging with your child. At least now we've got those things that are there for us. Back then, our parents didn't have those things. You wouldn't find your parent on a webinar trying to be a better parent. You know, so you've got a problem. You need to deal with it. Like, attend
it's your childhood trauma. You're putting it to your child.
So there's those things, but there are still children in families that still live as we lived when we grew up, because it's still same communities. They haven't advanced into the world of technology. So ubaba, and I can't tell them anything. So there are still such things. And for that, to be quite honest, I myself was thinking, Uguti, how can we change that? Because I know there are those relationships are still carrying on, where a daughter is not connected to their mother. And that's why I came up with my foundation, Crown in the Mirror, because I want to bridge that gap. There's a gap, and I want to bridge that gap, and I want to research and see how I can best assist. Because now I see I'm loving my relationship with my mom. And boy, wouldn't that be nice if it had started then, you know? So I want those girls to have that relationship then, so that the counselors the guides because I end up going to the streets. I'm like, okay, Chomi, kinali situation and then I end up making mistakes. But if mama born and so that is something that I want to look into.
So with your foundation, with having to help girls, with your research that you said you have done so far, what would you say is the most cause of this problem? Besides my experiences like rape, but what would you say with your research? Not to say it's the ultimatum answer to that question. What would you say it's mostly the common cause for parents with your research? Okay, the reason abantu baselokishini or la ngihlala ngakhona bangazwani, okay, this is the common, or there's no common.
Can I tell you the truth? So even with us, it was how hola ngwana ke ngwana, motho o moholo ke motho o moholo. So how le ngwana unali your opinion. Well, it's your opinion. What I'm telling you must go, you know. And Banaba know, like we were saying, they are more exposed. They want to be listened to. They are very opinionated. And when you shut them out, they will take their opinion somewhere else. So I think we need to move away from living like that. Yes, but listen to what their child has to say. You'll be surprised at what they've got in store for you. You know, the other day when I was on a cruise, I was shouting at my son, do this, that. And he listened, and then he said, Nomsa, can I say something? And I said, okay, this is interesting. Okay, Wanaka, say something. And then he explained, you know, he explained his side. And after he explained his side, I was like, I should have listened before even shouting. It would have even avoided this. And baba traumatized, baba depressed, because we are jumping into conclusions most of the time.
Because one thing, now I have a son. One thing I've realized with that behavior, my parents, where we shouting at kids, when you shout at your kid, yes, you might be taken by an emotion at that time and you are not aware. When you shout at your child, like your the mind of a child, so they cave into a corner. Ukuthi manje sakabhekane nama emotions ukuthi mama uzongishaya, but you are busy talking. You could be talking in there relevant, but umntwana akakuzwa, hence kungenzeka ukuthi ayiphinde the same thing over and understand ukuthi with technology we should use it properly as people, and as you came ngale app le ukuthi abazali now they are going through to check izinto kumele bazilungise, because it doesn't necessarily mean ukuthi umdala you are always right,
you know everything. You
understand that.
And you must also apologize to your child.
Apology, it's important.
It's very important. So, Mina, I'm a shouter. My son knows. And sometimes, guys. And when I look at him, sometimes I'm like, this child is so humble because and then when I realize that I was in the wrong, I will go back. I'm so sorry for cheek, and then I'm like, it's okay, Nomsa, I understand. And I'm thinking, this child.
Such things as a parent, now I tend to go through them. Like it hits because it's like because as a parent we are conditioned not see some of my young parents. You don't think a child can give you a proper explanation and once you get it from your child, you would say, damn. Shuthi nami abazali bami abayibonanga lento le. So we with the foundation, let's touch the foundation.
We're not done with the rapes though.
Yeah, because the foundation, it was based on having to experience, inspired. So with the foundation, is it only based on rape victims or?
So the foundation that I've recently registered doesn't only focus on the support of gender-based violence and rape victims, but I don't want to just focus on girls. Yes, that is my main goal. That is my main purpose of my foundation. But what I also want to touch on is raising awareness in terms of youngsters in Soweto, just to be precise, but it's not going to stay in Soweto when it gets bigger, because I've noticed we've got these nice programs that are going on in South Africa, your bursary schemes, your graduate programs, your learnerships, and I feel like our brothers and sisters in Soweto, they are not as exposed, even if somebody tells them about it, they don't know what to do next, and some of them, so I wanted to touch on it at a very early point because some of them, they go through matric and they say hanga pasa fela, and ngwana ha fetsa pasa fela. Great, they can't get into university, they can't get into learnerships, they cannot get any bursaries, because to get all of that, you need to work hard and you need to have those marks to get in. But they're not getting the guidance, not only from at home, but they're not getting it even I think, I don't know. But I think but they just go to school, they do what needs to get done, and then after that, okay, life goes on. So I want to have something that will also inspire those youngsters, to go out there and look for opportunities, and not just that, but also work hard and focus. Or during the week. Now let's talk about during the week. In during the week, you will find them by gating, and at the end of the day, when as the older brother that's working, everybody's looking up to you for everything, and it's not fair. Whereas there's so many resources out there. Now, what am I doing? Now I'm in learning and development. I'm a learning and development consultant go Aeon. And when I got in this go Aeon, I realized there's so many opportunities. And then when I started off, I was in recruitment. And I would get so many applications, study learnerships, When you go through them, the people are not qualified. Yes, there's a lot of applications, but because the people ba applying, habana le tsona di marks tse batlagalang, bayenza kuphela, ngipasile, and then life goes on. So I want to be that person that says, don't just pass. Do it to the best of your ability. The same thing over. Because opportunities are there.
Very.
But do you have what is required to grab those opportunities? I want you to have what is required to grab those opportunities. You get them in interviews. Still go interview. Only the requirements. Marhafitla go interview the etiquette. Who coached him or her? No one. So I want to step in those shoes and say, even if I'm not going to grab Roman one day, bits and pieces, I will eventually get there. So that's what I also want to focus on. Try as much as possible to take them off the streets and keep them focused on their growth. You guys need to be focused on what you want to achieve. So that's where I come in, guys. I'm there.
Thank you so much. I hope our viewers amamele, because we also did the show with that sense of YouTube. YouTube, if abantu bangayithatha na, it is cool. So we're trying to spread such things ukuthi abantu babe exposed, because there's one summit I attended, I think it was last month, Evit's Business School, La Pepram. After doing the summit then and being exposed there, they did a survey with what do they need to change, because it was about small businesses and funding and all. I was like, this thing needs to be a location.
Yes.
Because like here, access. You needed to get an invite from email, and that's what you show, and your ID. And we don't have time for that. But it's the people that we need. If they want young people about opportunities, don't be so far from people, exposed. So not expose people who has businesses and ideas and a lot of things that they are doing out there to motivate the next person, because abantu bahamba nama smartphones but they are not smart as their phones, so a problem there. So let's retract kancane, as you said, ukuthi we haven't done about your story. Understand. So with your experience, I'll still retract kancane, move up, but I just want to know this. What would you say for a young girl, maybe who has experienced maybe a rape, maybe let's say today, what would be the first step that they need to do if need be they're in that situation? Because I believe they don't know what to do if they were to find themselves in that situation. Because as you see, I'm a police station, the treatment is not nice, because I don't want to touch that, but
So the first thing that I would advise young girls to do, this is my advice from me to you, the biggest mistake that I made growing up is tell your parents. Number one, we can go past the stages and say what is the first thing that the person must do, and we are probably referring to resources. For which resources can I turn to? But the biggest resource is telling your parents. Don't be scared to tell your parent. I think that is the biggest mistake that I made as a 16-year-old. Like I was saying, at 16, I was raped again, and I was pulled into bushes. They put my brother on the other side, and they raped me on the other side. And when we were leaving to go home, we swore to each other that we are not going to tell our parents. And that is the biggest mistake, because you're gonna grow up with this pain. You're gonna grow up with these questions, asking yourself, what have I done? Did I attract this person? It's not your fault. Even I think at this day and age, parents understand that rape is not anyone's fault. You don't go out dressed up and saying, today I'm going to ask for rape. No. Tell your parents. That is the first thing, because if you've got their support and you've got your family support, whether you struggle go to police station, because you will struggle go to police station, whether you struggle how fitla go di for those pills that they give you, you will still stand in a queue, but when you've got support from your family, parents know someone who knows someone who can offer assistance for free. So tell your parents. Yes, your parents will give you the right directive in terms of where to go. You will need them when you go to the police station. You will need them when you go and fetch those pills, because the very same day you need to go a public hospital or any hospital or a clinic to get the pills that they give you that you take for a month so that you don't contract HIV and AIDS. So you need to get those. So don't hide in your corner and say, I don't want the world to see me. You still need to live after the rape. So you want to live only HIV and AIDS free, so you need to go and do that. Police station utloya, but chances are your case is just gonna sit in a docket and nothing is gonna happen to it. That's what happened to one of my cases. I don't know what's happening. And then your parents will most probably find you somebody that can sit down with you and talk to you and help you out. So that is my advice. That is a mistake I made, and I'm just glad that today I'm fine. But would I have been given an opportunity to do things again, I would have done that.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Because again, as you said on your story, you were raped alongside your brother. He witnessed, he experienced the trauma also. So with such people, do you think now it's necessary? Because as I told you before, with now my experience it with my previous partner, that thing, because I was still working, I understand, it affected me to a point M17 I needed them to also be offered counseling, because it goes deep. I think as men, that thing, it builds anger to us once your wife or your girlfriend, your sister, your mother goes through the same thing. You will have a certain hate toward certain men. Damn, only if I could get help, so that maybe you can get courage to promote a good message out there to those people who are destroying people, because they think maybe you being a rape victim, it destroys a lot of people, even marriage and relationships. So with that, has it affected your relationships, your experience? Rape.
Yeah, before I go into being affected, I will start talking about my brother. So the bushes were quite big. So this guy just took him and placed him on the other side. He didn't get to witness the whole thing happening, but of course he knew what was happening. He was only 11, but then he knew what was happening. And I feel like had we made a different decision then, he also needed to get counseling, because this affected him. It happened in his presence. It's my sister. I couldn't protect her. And probably even growing up, you're still asking yourself questions. Had we not gone to the shops, maybe it wouldn't have happened, and all of that. So I feel like, yes, but they also need the counseling, because it affects them. When I'm affected, they also affected. And to talk about my relationships, yes, it does affect my relationships, because at some point I think I stopped loving. I told myself, you know what, men are just not deserving of my love. So what I will do is I will be in relationships to see them hurt. And the moment you start loving me, I will walk out to see you hurting, just so that I get some gratification. But I wasn't getting that gratification. And I thought, you know what, I don't know where this is coming from, but it's not benefiting me. But it was just that pain and that anger from those incidents. And you're thinking, I'm not worthy of love. I'm not going to be ever loved, because men just come, men just take, and they leave me all damaged and bruised. And I think, like I said earlier on, that then I found myself, 2010, I got saved. That's where I found myself, and I thought, okay, well, I am worthy, I am beautiful, I am loved, and I know that I will find love one day. Up until I did. But anyway, that's just a story for another day. But it does affect us, and I think even now, if you get flashbacks, you don't forget these things. You might forgive and forget, but it's not forget. You still have it at the back of your head, and you still need that husband that will support you when those moments return, because at some point or another they do return, and they affect.
It pops now and then.
It does,
and it hits you like So hey, I'm glad that we're talking about this, because what I've seen in them, because I like to do also my research. I've seen a lot of girls in Soweto, they've experienced this thing, rape, but they're not talking about it. Yeah, me, I only see it mostly in their characters. Yeah, because I'm spiritual, not to say that I'm judging people, but I see it in their character. Yeah, and what I've seen with that name, I just want to give even young girls, not to discriminate abantu who like to party, right? But lang corner so it's what I've realized, most girls, they experience this thing in these places. And they don't talk about it. Yeah. Hence, when I saw your story, I was like, yo, there's this concern I have. Uguti, abantu babona ngama traits. Uguti, they've been violated, but now they're not talking about it. When you said also, when you experience rape, you get to a point where you hate men, and then you would find somebody who's octanda, but you will hate that person because of. So I've seen this game
hurt people.
I've seen this game. So it's repetitively, and when I check, like, no, I will hear screams sometimes. I'm like, it might be here, but how many places is it happening? I understand. So
what do you do when you hear screams? You know, when I was 20 and I was raped and I was screaming, people didn't come out. And I'm sure people heard me scream. People didn't come out. And I feel like we fail each other as communities as well.
Touching back to your story, I want to lay good community we failing. When you started your story, say modeling, you had support from community. Beniana sema training no yenza manje.
Uzoyithola na.
Yeah, I understand. But even if you can scream, understand that at night or anywhere, yes, we thank you, Laba Abantabas, my neighborhood watch with Ama Whistles. We thank you so much. But if Abeko at that point, at that time, but when you section and when it's happening here, but the community can hear you.
I'm screaming, like you're thinking, you can. Like it was my cousin's 21st birthday, literally taking my friend to the corner and saying goodbye. Here comes a person that takes me and drags me and you know, dragged me to one of the bushes, and I was screaming the whole way for help me. And I think happily assumption ya gore uthabo ulwa no Martha, it's boyfriend and girlfriend, asingeni indaba zabantu, can't you don't even know gore go etsagalang ka motho o. That person hardly even or barely even knows whoever is doing whatever to them. So
let's go back. Let's go back to helping each other, because even on my smartphones, if even an accident, we just taking pictures with nonsense in our phones. Like, why is see family and you're showing your friend instead of calling AOCs or call an ambulance. We
wait for it to end, then we make it a scene instead of preventing that scene. We make it a scene. Okay, so Puma Peli, let's tata my pictures, and by then it's too late. A person's life has been touched in a very bad way.
So coming to that, that's what I've seen with girls. You're finding yourself in such times as a girl, as we know our country is having a problem, GBV. So don't victimize yourselves, people. Knowing very well you don't have transport, you don't have money. I understand, because I've seen this thing with the reason about mostly our relationships are so, and people seem like batanda and dogzalana just hurting each other. It's because of that.
From that.
Yeah, because they don't even talk about it. They just leave it. It's their lives. I've met women saying that.
Yeah, you say it boldly.
Like they say it boldly. But I don't blame them, because this thing rape, it breaks a character. Sometimes if you are not strong, it creates that thing and the day you get somebody all right, and then you're gonna damage in the writing past trauma, because hence I'm saying girls need to talk about it.
We need to open up.
I would say I'm not sure with the statistics, but with how I've seen things, like, so I would say 40 to 50% girls who go partying, they've been raped. Yeah, and they don't talk about it, and that's sad.
Yeah. Ladies, we need to talk.
You need to
talk. You're not going through it alone. That's what I got to find out now when I started talking about my story. It was that I'm not alone, because the moment I opened up, ladies started opening up. And when we start sharing our story, even if it happened years back, we are able to relate and help each other out in terms of how did you get through it? How did you get past the stage? Because rape is rape. You know, you are violated. You don't say, okay, come rape me. No, it's violation. Somebody is taking from you what you have not given them. And we all go through the same feeling. We know how it feels. So when we talk about it and we are open enough with each other, we are able to help each other out with solutions. How do we get past this? Because eventually you need to get past this. You are alive, you are on earth. And while you are alive, you need to make the most of your life. And you don't want to live your life stuck in one place thinking, at this time I was raped, I'm not worth it, I'm not enough, this, that. No, you need to open up. That's the biggest thing. Let's I'm not going to call it a secret. It's not a secret. It's something that I've also done. Opening up has helped me heal. Yeah, because anything, as you say, opening up healed. People think talking like so, like it could be your therapist or whoever. They think that thing is just a waste of time. Because the next time you talk about it, you'll feel even the weight. It's, Fuguti, I'm no longer reacting like the first time when I talked about it, because now it's repetitively you talking about it. Now you are release or you're casting it out. So please, people, let's talk. I understand, so that at least, man, like we heal our nation, because our nation is suffering. Because I create an GBV. To show to this thing, it's a serious matter. It's a serious matter.
Yeah, and it starts from a young age. So imagine, hence most people, they grow to all the bitter because of this experience that they decided to box it to go time. Then I know for now.
Yeah, and you don't do that.
So please, like your. So coming to again your journey, so how did you get into being elected from experiencing all these things as Miss South Africa? I understand.
Yeah. So Mrs. South Africa is a cherry on top.
Yeah.
So after my self-discovery journey, after being saved, I will go back to being saved, guys, because that's where my life started. And I think more than anything, when you are a youth and you get saved, you get labeled in a way. Oh my goodness, it's such a young age, like you know. But not at that age of 25, but instead I found myself, right? And I grew out of hating men. I grew into having compassion, having love towards them, and being open to love as well. And in turn, met my husband. I met my husband, the most loving man in the world. I know. Yeah, a man that loves me unconditionally. You know, I always say big ups to men who are able to be in a relationship or a marriage with somebody that has been through GBV and rape. That's not going to be an easy relationship, because more than anything, you are my comforter. I cry to you, and when I snap, I don't expect you to snap back. I need your support. I need you to hold me close and say, what is wrong? And that's what I found. That is what I got. And I believe that I was given my husband by God. And it didn't take him long to realize, okay, I want to get married. And we got married. But more than anything, he is a man that has seen the most beautiful thing in me. And being with him made me feel, okay, you know what? After all, I am beautiful, you know, both inside and outside. I am worthy, you know, and I walk around and people say, oh, you've got such a nice body. And then the other day I go into Facebook and I see Mrs. South Africa. I'm like, Mrs. South Africa. This is interesting. And why I'm saying it's interesting, the main reason why I did it initially was, okay, people say I've got a beautiful body. Perhaps I should do this thing.
Yeah.
And then when I got there, I saw that the mission was bigger than what I thought. Yeah. Because even when I did it, besides that I've got a beautiful body. Guys, I do have a beautiful body, by the way. You can visit my pages. So then I realized, okay, the mission was bigger than what I thought, because I said to myself, this is going to be a life-changing experience. Yeah. And I don't know where that came from. But when I got to Mrs. SA and it was casting and they asked me, why are you doing this? True story. Yeah. I said to them, growing up, I had the beauty contests for kids, right? Yeah. And I did it for kids. But never did I think I want to be one of the contestants, right? And the reason for that, when I looked in the mirror, I just saw this ugly duckling and I thought, my email up stage, you are first princess or you're a queen. And growing up, I started loving myself more, because at that time I was like, okay, I will lift them up, I will honor them. They are the beautiful people ones, and everything. But being Gift's wife, I realized that I'm also beautiful. And when they asked me, why did you enter? Firstly, I said, the main reason is I want to inspire those that look up to me. Yeah. To say to them, South Africa is a huge country, right? Yeah. And to be bold enough to say, Mrs. South Africa, it means you've got one hell of a nerve. Yeah. So if I can do it, so can you. Yeah. That's number one. I want people to think like that. Secondly, I want to be that woman that says to that young girl, I grew up feeling ugly. Yeah. I grew up feeling like I wasn't worth it. I don't want you to experience the same thing. I don't want you to, at the age of 30 or when you get married, start loving yourself. You must know that you are beautiful. Man. Namanje, when I came to Spiwe, I almost put makeup on, but he said, no, come, be comfortable. And I always say to myself and other friends, Uguti, I love myself just the way I am. Yeah. I think when God was making me, he was loving what he was making. Magan Ketelika, like he says, Nomsa. This mouth will be perfect for Nomsa. So I love me for me. I don't want to change anything about me. I want to be that woman that says to that girl, you are perfect as you are. If your maker, when he was making you, thought there was something wrong with some part of your body, he would have fixed it then. But then there was nothing wrong, so he sent you off to earth. So you are perfect as you are. That's what I want to say to young girls. That's what made me enter. You know, I want young girls to stop having this thing of no. He wants to be verified. Is she beautiful? Let's stop this thing. Verify validate. Look yourself in the mirror every day in the morning and say, look, Nomsa, you are beautiful. Put that crown. Have an imaginary crown and put it on your head and say, Mina, nyimuhle. I don't need anyone's validation. I might be going through things right now. I might not be feeling okay, but I will snap out of it. Walk out of that door and feel beautiful. That's it. Wow. That's my why.
I hope Pamamele Ekaya Abusisi, because this is something profound coming from a woman. Because with my friend here, we always cry with we need young women who's gonna motivate. And today we finally got it. Like, thank you so much.
It's called giving back, guys.
Please, like, I wanna give back. Like women, like it's time for you guys, especially from a young age, because abantu abadlala indima, abantu abadala most of the time. If in corner it's fihlile, but show yourselves. You understand that. So I would like to continue on the Miss South Africa point.
Semi-finalist. Okay, so then there was the casting interviews, and then the same day they chose us, right, as the class of 2023. And then after that day when we did casting, it was a very long day, they called us in for a 2-day workshop. Yeah. And at that workshop, they tell you that do you know what? If you think you're beautiful, then you're at the wrong place, because this is a women empowerment platform. So we want to empower you to achieve your dreams, to be the best version of yourself. Yeah. If you had wanted to do certain things in your life, but you kept on procrastinating, this is the perfect platform for you to jump out. You know, we want to get you that skill that will get you out there, you know, give you that freedom of innovation, you know, doing things that you've never done before, getting out of your comfort zone, you know. But they give you that information as raw as it is. And then they tell you, you can go home and decide. I went home right on the spot. And I was like, okay, guys, I'm a wife. I'm a learning and development consultant. I'm a student at VETS. And then how am I going to do this? But then I said to myself, this year, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something that will stretch me. More than anything, I wanted to give back. And I've already been singing the song and saying, how can I give back? And this will make me stand up and actually go out there and do it. And then part of our journey as Mrs. SA Semi-Finalist is getting yourself a sponsor who will sponsor your journey.
So have you got any sponsors? Look at us.
Yes, I have a sponsor. Guys, I can't forget my sponsor. You know, I think my sponsor and I are living the same values because he is also about giving back and empowerment. He wants to empower his brothers and sisters from where he grew up initially. So my sponsor is Lebo M.
Shout out to Lebo M.
So
yes.
So he's my sponsor, and more than anything, when I got to we had a meeting, set up a meeting about the journey, and when I got to him and I told him about Mrs. SA and the benefits that he would get from Mrs. SA by sponsoring me, I think he was drinking tea, right? And he just kept on drinking his tea. And then when I started telling him my story, where I am coming from and what I want to do in terms of my foundation, he literally sat up and said, tell me more.
Wow.
And when I told him about what I aspire to do and my dreams and what I've been through and how I don't want to see other girls going through the same thing, he was like, I am believing in that dream. I want to walk that road with you. I want to see you make that change. One girl at a time. You will get there, you know, but you will get there with me and I will be holding your hand. And you know, the support that I get from him, he takes me to this event. We went to the theater the other day, Soweto Theater, where we met. You know, I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be talking like this if it weren't for him making me tag along to the events. You know, he says, I want to expose you. I want people to hear your story. I want people to jump up to want to assist you and work with you. I want you to put the word out there. I want us to make this change.
Wow.
That is my sponsor.
You know, your like guys, your sponsor is more like a father or I understand that, like, it's beyond sponsorship, the support that they show you. Thank you, Lebo M and the foundation. You're doing the most Soweto. And with this thing of giving back, like Nabanta Babugele, who have maybe resources or means, having the sense of understanding to give back, it's gonna click like it's about time we give back as people. So thank you so much. And then with also coming to Miss South Africa, I like the fact you disclose a bit of information, because abantu ababhekelele maybe might have beautiful viewers there who wanna join. You having to also talk about what they require, because obviously more pegility about Miss South Africa or Miss South Africa, you're thinking they're looking for beauty only, and when you got there, they be like, if you're all about beauty, this is a boot camp, mamas. That's true. We're building soldiers. So you see such information, it sparks something. Now when they enter this competition, they're not gonna enter with the blind mind. I'm just gonna look pretty. I understand. And then when they question you don't even understand the question, you don't know what to say. But having to hear it from you, Futi, this is like home. It's just a way to understand that.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, wow, that's beautiful. I like that. I like that.
And they're not keeping it a secret. Yeah. Another thing is you are free to talk about what really happens in the background, because they're not keeping it a secret. If you visit their website, they tell you, if you will be a semi-finalist, this is what will be required of you. I think more than anything, we need to get ourselves used to reading.
Yeah.
You know, most information is there.
Yeah.
It just needs you to go in there and read it. Information is out there. And it's a boot camp, guys. A very good boot camp.
Yeah.
I'm loving this journey because I've discovered a new Nomsa.
Solimana, how did you feel when you were selected amongst other women like Nomsa Mophuting?
What a great feeling, guys. What a great feeling. It's such an inspiration, really. Not just for me, but, you know, to always tell people I am a semi-finalist for Mrs. South Africa. Okay. My uncle said, yo, that's a big deal. Yo, all the best. All the camp.
It's not glitz and glam.
Yeah, guys, it's work, but work that is worth it, because you get to realize your dreams from this journey. Yeah. And I always say to people, even my fellow semi-finalist sisters, that it gets easier if you know your why. If you're going out there and you're looking for a sponsor, sell yourself, right? There's 100 of us. It's 100 semi-finalists, right? Yeah. There's only going to be 30 in July. They're selecting the finalists in July. But what are you taking out of this journey? You're not just here to wear that red and white sash, guys.
And where's yours? You said
it's in the car.
And the tails are
it's in the car. Guys, you said I must be comfortable.
So should I go comfortable?
I must be comfortable. I must just be myself and be relaxed.
Guys,
I'm a semi-finalist. Guys, it's written on my forehead. No, guys, it's written on my forehead. But more than anything, it's sell yourself and know your why. If you know why you are in this journey and you know what you want to take out of it, it gets easier even going out to that sponsor and saying, look, this is what I want to do. This is where I am. Yes, I'm a semi-finalist, but this is my dream. This is what I'm ultimately going to achieve in the end. The sponsor will buy more into what you want to achieve in the end beyond Mrs. SA to show that you've got a plan. You can't just say, I want that crown. Yes, that crown is going to sit on your head. And then what happens? You know, so it's all about that. Know your why, and then the journey gets easier.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I would like to do a follow-up on you on the next, because I think we need to have a part 2 of this.
Really?
Yeah, like your story is interesting. Like your foundation. I understand that. Is it something that is already up and running, or it's still in the planning phase?
So I will say this about my foundation. I submitted my application on the 3rd of March, right? Yeah. And I was assisted by someone to submit the application because she works with these things every day, and I didn't want to miss anything because there's a lot of documents that I needed. So when she communicated, she mentioned that in 2 weeks I would have an NPO number, and then the certificate comes later because the process is longer. Unfortunately, even now I'm still waiting for my NPO number, and I'm having a launch on the 27th with my girls. So I'm planning to take them out for breakfast, but to a restaurant that's out of Soweto, because most of the girls are from Soweto, and knowing what's happening is most of them haven't barely been out of Soweto, so I want them to experience that environment, the fresh air and everything. So the launch is on the 27th, and I'm crossing my fingers
this month
that it must come out of this month. So I'm hoping, guys, that 27, Claire, my number must be out. So
universe on its own side. Because I understand that later why we delayed the number, but once it could be so on
just now.
I understand.
It has to. I even have the logo and everything, so it must just come, please.
So that's why I need to, after you have launched it, because we need to show this to people, especially me. I'm worried mostly about girls, because girls lately for me, they are lost. Yeah. So having to follow up on your foundation of how it's coming up, understand that I would like to do that. So I don't know, do you have anything for viewers that you feel we left out that we didn't talk about before?
Yeah, you left something out. Guys, you need to vote for me. SMS Nomsa Mophuting to 47587. The crown is mine.
Can you repeat that?
47587 Nomsa Mophuting. And please spell it right, guys. If you spell it wrong, oh my goodness.
Thank you so much to have this opportunity with you on the show, taking your time. And ngiyazwa umama sisakafonile I saw and ushilo ukuthi isikhathi so, but thank you so much for taking your time and talking to the girls and the viewers and the boys.
Boys too. Hey, boys too.
Show yabona zama ukubalance, bring females and males. Thanks to Born Beautiful. Sisemkhishweni, subscribe and like the show. Sabonga, this is another, wow, I don't know how to say this, but it was an amazing talk that I had with you, Nomsa. Like, shout out to also Born Beautiful for showcasing such ekasi, and sabonga naba subscribe and the viewers. Let's keep watching, but benkosi. Nsalen kahle.
Thank you.